Welcome to TCPIII's model building by Tom. And yes, this is not an actual model. This is actually an old-fashioned high tank toilet that you're seeing here. Let's see if I can go ahead and pan out far enough for you. Yeah, maybe not. I am in the powder room, if you will, the small bathroom at my house here, and you can definitely see the long brass pipe here. Going up to the high tank, and I apologize for the backlight through the window there, but it is what it is. So what do I have going on here, and why am I doing this? Well, the reason is actually kind of simple. When I kind of pushing the buttons on a friend of mine who said, "No more potty talk," when I was talking about going ahead and, having problems with this particular toilet. So, the reason why I was having problems is that after some 30 years, this nut here, and I don't necessarily mean the nut holding the camera, I mean the nut that right here, started leaking. So I went ahead and I pulled it out, and I've already unscrewed it. And what did I find in there? I found a single washer and a whole lot of plumber's putty. And, here is a particular brand. No recommendations, of course. But that was what was up in there. I'm going ahead and literally sealing from here up several inches. Or at least a good inch plus. So I went ahead, sealed it up. It appeared to work, but then shortly afterwards it started leaking around this nut. And this nut around the outer edge is what actually holds in the flush valve above it. Now, if you don't know what a flush valve is, here, I'll go ahead and show you. And here's a flush valve. It's what the flapper valve, or the flapper, sits on in the toilet. It also contains the drain pipe here that'll go ahead and help fill up the bowl after you've gone ahead and flushed. So, yeah, that big nut holds on to this unit down here. And then the other nut just went circling around here, where my little finger is. Now, the issue that I had when I was putting this back together is it just didn't seem right to go ahead and put a single nut around that unit. I mean, that's a 2-inch brass pipe, or a 2-inch opening there in the bottom of that, and that little nut, it's now kind of slid down. This little nut here, 2-inch opening at the top, 1.5-inch opening down here at the bottom. Now, if you've done any type of basic plumbing, like maybe in the kitchen and whatnot, you probably have gone ahead and maybe put in a, replacement piece of line going from your sink to the outflow, and it may have had what is called a compression fitting. No compression fitting. Like you saw, it just had the washer, and it had the plumber's putty in there. Didn't seem right. So I went ahead and I actually called a plumber, and they came on out here, and the guy was like, "I have no idea, never seen one of these before." So he called up his other people that he worked with, and they were like, "No idea, no idea, no idea." Finally, one of them said, "You need to get a hold of an antique plumber." I was like, antique plumbers? I mean, I did research on high tank plumbing, and couldn't find anything really as far as parts and whatnot for these guys. But the guy said he would go ahead and take a look for some things, and this was not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before it. So end of October. And he got back to me on Monday saying that he was waiting for a guy to come back from the 49ers football game in London. So I was like, okay, I figured I'd wait. It was Monday. I got a couple other bathrooms in this house, and I was like, oh, fine. But Monday came and went. Tuesday came and went. Wednesday came. And I was like, okay, hadn't heard from him. So I was like, well, I've done some research. I need to go ahead. If I haven't heard from him, I need to go ahead and get the parts that I need. So I went to the antique plumber here in Sacramento, and there's not many antique plumbers in the nation. Luckily, there was one, and I'll go ahead and I'll put the email, or I'll put the address and the webpage for them as well up on this. And they were able to go ahead and sell me the flapper tube here, or the flush valve. And while I was there, I was looking around, and I was like, they had a whole bunch of high tank toilets, and they had the same 2-inch openings, but they didn't go to 1.5 inches, which is what my pipe is. It went to 1.25 inches. And they had what is known as I call it a reducing spud, or a spud reducer. And what it was something that connected to the big pipe there, and then, reduced it down, and then it snugged up on the other pipe. Well, in my research, I happened to find one company that actually did that. And here it is. Oops. This is a reducing spud, or a spud reducer. It goes from a 2-inch opening, right there, to 1.5 inches on the top. Now, you may have noticed that there's a nice big flat washer there, nice rubber one. On the top part, there is also a flat washer there. And for anyone that's done any type of part replacements on their sinks, you've probably seen these little reducers, or I should say compression fittings. They literally just slide on in, and as you snug up the nut, it goes into the other pipe and seals it up good and tight. And this opening is 1.5 inches. Okay, focused in on it there. Like I said, this opening here is 1.5 inches. So this will go ahead and fit my piping that I've got in this toilet just perfectly, and do the job. And do the job that this company did not do properly the first time around. The company itself is no longer in business. It is called the Heads Up Company, and I will actually be putting this into the web, into the YouTube page, and also in the video. I want to make sure that people that have these heads ups know where to go, and I'll include the URL for the company that I bought this guy from. So this will service them as well. So what am I going to do? Well, here's what we're going to do. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that nut from the top, and I'm going to pull out the flapper, or the valve that's up above, or the flush valve. And I'm going to have to go ahead and undo the bottom, and the bottom was fine, but I did go ahead when I started putting this back together earlier. I did put in a replacement compression fitting, so that part is done. The intake area here, this has just been replaced as well, although it's a standard connector, or standard fill valve that's up there, that I happen to go ahead and put in the new parts for it. So it's all good and ready to go. I just need to go ahead and take care of this guy. So I'm going to go ahead, since I've only got the one hand, and I'm going to need 2 hands to go ahead and get this guy apart. I'm going to go ahead and show you the tool that I'm using to do it. Because that is a 2-inch nut up there, I had to go over to the Home Depot to go ahead and get this adjusting lock nut wrench. They did not have this at Lowe's, not at all. Not available online, not available in the store. I can't speak towards Ace Hardware. I just started off with the two that were closest to me before I went ahead and went online to go ahead and search for something like this. But I needed something that can go ahead and go larger than 2 inches to go ahead and handle that big bad boy down there. As you can see, it's adjustable. Oops, let me go ahead and open this up a little bit. This is adjustable just like a crescent wrench. And then it does have, there we go. And it does have the wing nut there to go ahead and lock it into place to make it more secure. Otherwise, this will go ahead and it is a little bit on the loose otherwise. So, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and open everything up in here, and I'll be back shortly and continue going on. And it all goes down the sink. No, just kidding. Back shortly. Alrighty, we are back. Now, I will say that nut was tight. Here we have the original flush valve, and this has been in since late 70s, very early 80s perhaps. Plastic piece, and this is the original. You can see this rubber gasket here, and it looks like it's surrounded by plumber's putty is what it is, and inside was plumber's putty too. And this is what I repacked it with when I tried to reassemble it, and it didn't work properly. But I will say this thing was a bastard to remove. You can see the two kind of standing side by side. I'll probably have to cut a little bit off the top there. That's okay. That's an easy thing to do. But yeah, I had to actually go ahead and put another wrench into the bucket up there and to hold it steady while I was going ahead and taking the other pliers to go ahead and open it up. So, was not a fun job. So, next thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go ahead and cut this guy down to size a little bit. So, what I will do is I will go ahead and take a marker and measure it out. Now, although the flapper or the seats for these valves are a little bit different, that's okay. Doesn't make any real difference whether it's a straight up like the brass one is, or it's on an angle. The straight up is actually more conducive to a original style, and you can actually get replacement flappers and whatnot that were designed for these old style ones. And it literally, it kind of looked like teardrop shape almost, and it would just, drop in. But what's going in is fairly common nowadays. It'll go ahead and it's adjustable for the how long the flapper stays up, and you can actually see. I don't know if you can actually see it, but it says 1 minute, 2, 3, 4, 5 to a max of 10. I'm going to have to try that out. I'm not quite sure on that. But first thing to do is to cut the pipe. I will go ahead and see if I can find my hacksaw. Otherwise, I do have a couple other saws that'll do it. Not necessarily the best for it, but even the Dremel tool could go ahead and do this. So I'm not actually going to go ahead and show this. If you got a hacksaw, you should hopefully know how to cut, basic straight cut through the pipe. And then we'll go ahead and continue inserting it into the tank. You can see the hole there. You can see the pipe here. And I'll have to go ahead and clean it up a little bit more. Get the plumber's putty off of it and whatnot. And then we'll put it all together for Tamara. Stand by, people. Alright, and we're back again. Now you can see here that the pipes are the same height. And I didn't use a hacksaw or didn't use my Dremel tool. I forgot until I literally went off video that I had a nice little device, kind of small, as you can see here, but it's a pipe cutter. It literally has a wheel on this side over here where you can see my finger. That's nice and sharp, and you literally unscrew it to the right diameter. You put it in position. You make sure it's all lined up at the right height and whatnot. You kind of screw it in a little bit, and then you just start twisting it around. Just keep going around and around, clockwise, counterclockwise, doesn't really matter. I find going ahead and going clockwise with the nut on the right hand side, like I'm doing right here, works for me. I don't think there is a particular best way, but each time you take it around a few times, then you go ahead and you tighten the nut up a little bit further, and a little bit further, and a little bit further. So it does compress it just a little bit, and I know you can't really tell, but it leaves a pretty good finish. Very few burrs in there. Matter of fact, few enough that I'm just going to pretty much go ahead and leave it. I don't have a metal file, and once I go ahead and put in the connection piece for the fill tube, and there's a little clip that clips into the top here that the fill valve or the fill tube fits into, that goes into this tube here, I'll never have need to go ahead and touch it. So I should never have any issues whatsoever with getting a little burr. And if this one lasts, the same 30 plus years as the plastic one there, I'm 46. Another 30 years, that makes me 76. According to actuary tables, I'm dead. Will I care? No, not at all. So what's to do next? Well, next thing to do is I'm going to have to take this nut off down here, and then I'll go up the top into the tank up there, and I will go ahead and drop the fill valve with this rubber gasket on it into the hole, and then I will come back and I will tighten this nut so that way it's good and tight around that whole area there. So I'm not going to go ahead and put any plumber's putty or anything like that on it. This should go ahead and be nice as it is, and it's brass on brass. That plastic connection, that was just a bear to go ahead and take off. I'm not even going to bother dealing with the Teflon tape because this is not actually going ahead and sealing. The rubber piece here is what's going to do the sealing. And the nut here is what's going to go ahead and press the unit, this and the bottom of the tank together really tight. So there shouldn't be any need whatsoever for Teflon tape or plumber's putty. And plumber's putty, when it dries, is just a bear. So anyways, let's go ahead and we'll take care of that, and we'll be back momentarily. If I had a tripod, you'd go ahead and see my fat ass getting up there doing this, but it's just one hand, if you know what I mean. So I'll be back in a moment. Heck with that. Instead of going ahead and coming back in a moment, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to try to do this one-handedly. So first thing to do is I'm going to take this nut off, and luckily this goes fairly nicely. Now I'm going to go ahead and push this down all the way. Now you might notice that's kind of a sloped. It's actually supposed to be a compression type fitting. It'll actually go in above and kind of squish down in between the tank and the fill valve here. So bear with me, everyone. Gotta do a little bit of climbing here. So let us go up. Okay. Well, that just went in nice and quick. I've got everything kind of pulled away over here to the side a little bit, so that way, you know, nothing gets in the way. I want to get that the fill valve kind of over here to the side, and then eventually there's the flapper, get it kind of out of the way. Here is the fill valve, and or the fill tube, and that'll go ahead and kind of clip into there here shortly. So, okay, let's go down now. Going down. Express stop. Oh, if this was already being served, I'm sure they'd go ahead and say haberdashery and a few other things perhaps. Anyways, so here we have it sticking out. Here is the replacement nut. I'm not going to use the original nut. I'm going to go ahead and use this because these two were basically made for each other. So I'm going to screw this in loosely right now. I might have to go ahead and pull out the other one just because it seeps in there a little bit farther than what I'd like. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up, and for that I will need both hands. So I'll be back. Okay, here we are back again. Polished the little guy off. Looks more copper than brass after all these years. But anyways, so now we're going to go ahead and put him on. Now I did a test fit earlier, and there were, although he went on okay, there were spots where he just didn't want to go ahead and turn. So I went ahead and threaded him on once. Come on. There we go. And then, kind of cranked him down a little bit. So I know he's turning up above. So I'm going to need to use both hands to go ahead and finish tightening him up, but this guy will at least work. Alright, be back shortly. Alright, we got the little guy on now. Now, before, you may recall that the only thing that I had before was this brass pipe and this nut. And this nut went ahead and screwed up here. And as you can see, that hole and that hole, there's the threading. Yeah, there you can see it better. You can see the threading, you can see the hole. Much difference. You can see the threading here. This reduces down. It's got a nice solid piece here. And then here's the top, or the bottom if you want to call it, I don't know which, of the spud nut. And there you go. So at this point, now we're just going to go ahead and thread a bunch of stuff together. So I'm going to go ahead, since this guy is actually what shoves it up, going to go ahead and place him on. Come on, you can let go of the washer. Bear with me, people. Anyway. So, the washer went, or the nut went all the way down. Here's the washer. And actually, before I put the washer on there, I need to go ahead and put the compression fitting, that little plastic piece. And I apologize for not having everything in frame there, but there's the plastic piece. Actually, I probably do want the rubber gasket on there first. Oh well. Okay, so rubber gasket, and this is what actually goes to the base of the nut. Alright, that's down far enough right now. Then comes the compression fitting. And what will end up happening is that compression fitting right there will get pushed into the bottom of that unit. So here I am putting that on, and I'm going to slide that down a little bit. So you can see where it is so far, and the nut's actually fallen down to the bottom of the pipe. And we should have, or did it stay on there? No, it's still there. The rubber gasket up there. So now what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go ahead and insert the top pipe here. And that's pretty simple. So there we go. We've just inserted the top piece. The bottom piece, however, likes to give it a little bit of problem because this ledge sticks out just enough to go ahead and act almost like a fulcrum. It's a little tight in there, which is kind of good too. But I need to bring this nut all the way up. So to do that, although I thought I had taken it and got it set up completely, I hadn't. Now, reinserting the bottom pipe. And a lot of dust has fallen down because of this. I'm actually going to go ahead and use some Teflon tape around this guy after I clean it up. And then up here, I'm just going to go ahead and hopefully this guy there we go. Come on, grab. Okay. You know, just to play it safe, I'm going to Teflon tape this guy. I'm not sure that's threading all the way into the rubber there. So I'm going to Teflon tape him. I'm going to definitely Teflon tape this guy as well. And for that, I'm going to kind of need my hand. So anyways, we'll be back shortly. Alright, we're back. Okay. As hopefully you can see, we got some Teflon tape up here. Got some Teflon tape down here. I'm going to kind of slide that compression fitting into place. The rubber gasket. Bring him up as well, right underneath. And that'll go screwing into there. At this point, it's just a matter of tightening up the connections here. Bottom one goes on quite nicely, especially on the Teflon. And it looks like it's just getting a little bit of space up there at the top, so it looks like it's going to fit on tight. And then I'll do the same thing with the bottom. With that, people, that'll be the repair. It'll be done. I'll go ahead, once I get finished tightening everything up, we'll go for a test flush, and hopefully no leaks. Anyways, be back for the final installment here shortly. Alright, we're back now. We've got the flush valve nut, this top guy here. He's in position. We've got the top of the spud, reducing spud connected. We've got the bottom of the spud connector all connected up as well. Definitely goes ahead and fits in there very tight. The washer definitely held it away, so it didn't clamp down in there really tight. So I will go ahead and probably strip back some of the Teflon tape there. So, alright, let's go ahead and turn this on and see if there's any leakage. So, here we go. I did hook up the flow pipe up there, and you can see that there. The flapper valve is in, so you can hear the water. And the toilet's been without fresh water in there, so it's probably gone ahead and partially evaporated and partially seeped on out. I can hear, and I can somewhat feel it too. Fresh water going down. It's actually kind of strange being able to feel the water going through the pipe. But anyways, let's go ahead and listen to it. This is old-fashioned. This is before the days of the reduced flow toilets. So this guy, you don't usually have to flush twice. I think it's the old-fashioned, 5-gallon tank up there. So it does a good job. Anyway, so still filling up. I'm not noticing any leaks. And as you can see here, because it was leaking up here through this nut, it seeped in between the tank and the wood here, so it had a little bit of a warpage there. Okay. Now the handle's temporarily off, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the handle. And no one needs to see the inside of the toilet. I think we all know what it looks like. Alright, and filling back up. Let's see what happens. Still, no sign of leakage. So I'm considering this one to be a go. Alright. Okay, people, so I'm going to go ahead, as I said before, I'm going to post up the information with regards to the 2 companies that I picked up the parts for. You don't necessarily have to go ahead and deal with what I did, but you're going to want to use keyword searches under Yahoo, Google, whatever you search engine you like. Antique plumbing for the restoration parts. Know your diameters. This pipe here is 1.5 inches. Most of them that are done nowadays are 1.25 inches, and the spuds are go from 2-inch to 1.25 inch holes as well. So keep that in mind. So anyways, this is Tom for TCPIII's model build. In this case, a toilet rebuild. Hope you have a good day, everyone, and have fun with projects around the house. Be they models or be they toilets or whatever else. Take care, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.